The Shanti path represents the Sanchalpa of an aspirant who seeks to improve the quality of life. Each verse in this Shanti path is a Sanchalpa, an aspiration, an affirmation, and an aim to attain in life. Asatu ma sadgamaya, lead me from the unreal to the real. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, lead me from darkness to light. Mrityor ma amritam gamaya, lead me from mortality to immortality. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu, let wellness prevail. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu, let peace prevail. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu, let wholeness prevail. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu, let auspiciousness prevail. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, may the whole world and its people be content and happy. What is the purpose of these affirmations or sankalpas? Just to create a mood to feel more relaxed, contented, and happy? Just for the intellectual satisfaction of calling the verses beautiful when one understands their meaning? No, that is not the purpose. The purpose of a sankalpa is to change the quality and expression of the mind. If an affirmation cannot change the quality and behavior of the mind, then it is not a sankalpa. It is only a thought or wish which one is unable to fulfill in life. Sankalpas are focused and concentrated energies of the mind. This mental power, force, or energy has to be harnessed and channeled, and that is difficult to achieve, as life is an expression of the mind. It is the mind which guides every action and reaction, idea and thought, desire and expectation in life. The mind is both the motivating factor and the discouraging factor. Mana hi devata, mana hi ishwara, mana se bara nakaye. Mind is God, mind is Ishwara, the undecaying principle. There is nothing greater than the mind. From ancient times, people have contemplated the nature of the mind, trying to know and understand it. Many conclusions have been drawn, but they are based on individual subjective experiences. Every conclusion does bring a new thought, but does not provide a full picture of the real nature and behavior of the mind. Source of the mind. In order to know the mind, know its source. The source of the mind is consciousness in the transsensorial dimension. In the transcendental and cosmic dimension, two powers or faculties coexist: consciousness and energy. They are in perfect equilibrium and harmony with each other. They are merged as one entity, one experience, one manifestation in the cosmic dimension. However, they have two possibilities. That one experience, one entity, one perception, contains consciousness and energy, the two principles that bring about mental understanding and sensorial experience of the world. The entire creation and life is an expression or interplay of consciousness and energy. Energy manifests in life as prana, and consciousness as mind. Consciousness is absolutely pure, spotless and untainted, in perfect equilibrium and harmony. When an interaction takes place in the cosmic dimension between consciousness and energy, life emerges. Each life is thus governed and guided by prana and mind. A bacterium has prana and also a mind, not a brain, but mind. An insect has prana and also a mind. An animal has prana and also a mind. A tree has prana and also a mind. The human body is governed and directed by prana and also by the mind. Therefore, cosmic cognition or cosmic awareness is known as consciousness, and individual awareness or contained awareness is known as the mind. Mind, a derivative of consciousness. What you experience in your life is the mind. This can be understood from the example of a tree. The tree has a trunk, which is its body, its support. From the trunk emerge different branches, and they are also a part of the trunk. They are made from the same substance as the trunk, but their functions are different. In the same manner, the mind is composed of the same stuff as consciousness, but it is not consciousness. It is a derivative of consciousness. It is an offshoot, an expression of consciousness, guided by the channels of sensory currents. In its theory of creation, the Samkhya school of thought considers the mind as an integral part of creation. Samkhyans state that the first entity in eternal existence is Brahman. This entity or identity of Brahman incorporates within itself the faculties and powers of energy and consciousness. In the spiritual tradition of India, Brahman is always identified as the cosmic spirit. Once upon a time, there was a war between gods and demons. The gods were victorious, and during the celebratory feast, each god began to boast of his powers and abilities and how he had vanquished the hordes of demonical forces. While this self-image boosting was underway, the Supreme Spirit manifested before them in the form of a yaksha. The word yaksha means a spirit. This was the ethereal embodiment form of Brahman. The gods were curious to know who this ethereal entity was. They asked Agni, the fire god, "Go and find out who this spirit is." The pride-filled Agni went to the yaksha and questioned, "Who are you?" And the spirit answered, "I am a yaksha. Who are you?" Agni said, "I am the all-powerful Jataveda, an all-powerful fire element." The spirit said, "What can you do?" Agni said, "I can burn everything in this world." The spirit said, "Burn this straw," and placed a few straws before Agni. The fire god huffed and puffed, but could not burn the straw. He realized that all his powers were of no avail before this spirit, and went back, dejected, to the assembly of gods. The king of gods, Indra, sent Varuna, the water god, to the spirit. The same interaction took place between the two. The water god said, "I am all-powerful. I can sweep everything from my path. Nothing can withstand my force." The spirit said, "Take away this straw." The water god huffed and puffed, but could not move the straw. He came back dejected to the assembly of gods. Now the wind god, Vayu, was sent. He was also unable to blow the straw away and came back dejected. Indra, the king of gods, and also the mind, decided that he himself would go to discover the identity of the spirit. When Indra went before the spirit disappeared, and in its place, goddess Uma appeared. Indra was bewildered. He asked the goddess, "Who was the spirit that disappeared as soon as it saw me?" Uma then revealed the secret to Indra, saying, "That spirit is Brahman, the cosmic spirit, the supreme reality. Each God and each particle of dust in creation is an emanation of his power and luminosity. In the state of Brahman, energy and consciousness are in absolute harmony and integrity. However, when life emerges due to an incognizable pulsation in the dimension of energy and consciousness, it takes the powers of these two catalysts to create and stabilize itself. Body becomes matter, which is governed by prana, the manifest Shakti component. Everything that is visible as a form, matter or body, is governed, directed, and controlled by Shakti in the form of prana. Beyond the material body or matter is the subtle force responsible for evolution and experiencing the truth of human nature and spirit, and its unity with the cosmos. That subtle power, that subtle force is consciousness, which is experienced in this life as the mind. Sunlight spreads uniformly everywhere, but when it enters through a window and illumines one spot, it is perceived as a ray. The ray is also part of the all-pervading sunlight. But when it enters a room through a window, you do not say that the sun has entered the room. You say that a ray of sunlight has entered the room. Consciousness and mind have to be understood the same way. The mind is the manifest aspect of consciousness. The cosmic consciousness is indivisible, infinite, omniscient. That is its essential form. However, when it manifests in a body in the course of evolution, the law of nature comes into play, and it is experienced in the mind, just like the sun ray. That which was called consciousness in the cosmic and universal dimension is called the mind in this life and body. The Upanishads describe Brahman as the nave of a wheel, while Shakti and Prakriti forms the spokes that extend from the rest on the nave. The spokes are surrounded by a solid sphere which holds them together, which is the mind. This mind is Mahat, the cosmic mind. 4 functions of Mahat. Mahat means the great mind, or the higher mind. It is also called Antakarana, which literally means inner or subtle instrument. There are 4 functions of this higher mind: Ahamkara, ego, the I identity; Chitta, impressions, memories, and samskaras; Buddhi, intelligence; and Manas, the finite sequential mind. These 4 functions help one evolve, progress, and grow in life. In fact, to experience life. In yoga, using the word mind is like using the word body. When one uses the word body, it is not referring to any particular part, organ, or system of the body, but the total body comprised of many different systems, organs, and functions. All these various components are identified in the word body. In the same manner, the word mind refers to the total mind, which consists of 4 identifiable functions. Ahamkara, the first evolute, function or product of Mahat, is the ego, Ahamkara. This ego or self-identity is an awareness of me existing as an independent unit, an independent person. Ahamkara is the realization that I exist. You exist. You identify with yourself because you exist. You identify with the body because you exist in the body. You identify with the mind because you can experience the mind. The knowledge that I live, I exist, I am, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my life, is ahamkara, self-identity or self-awareness. Aham means I. Akara means form, the form of the I. What is the form of the I? It is the individual self in totality. Chitta, the second function of Mahat, is chitta, the dimension where karmas and samskaras are stored in the deep unconscious. Chitta is also the center for memory, memories that are ingrained in the mind in the form of impressions, images, and experiences. These memories and samskaras are accumulated over a period of time by the mind. They relate not only to this life, but to the past as well, and are sown in the subconscious and unconscious states. A samskara, which you express today, reflects what you gained in the past and are living in the present. The samskaras which you cultivate today will be lived by you in the future. Right now, you are cultivating them. They are not part and parcel of your nature as yet. Samskaras that you create in the present will influence your future, and the samskaras that you have created in the past are influencing your present. This is the role of chitta. Buddhi. The third function of Mahat is buddhi, rationality and logic. Due to the connection of the mind with the world of sense objects through the sensory media, it is in buddhi that vasanas, or desires, are born. It is through buddhi that you decide upon expectations. Buddhi connects you with the world. Buddhi connects the mind with sense objects and sense pleasures. If there was no buddhi, no intelligence, then there would be no recognition or interaction of the individual with sense objects. There would be no indication that your association with a given object or sensory experience will provide happiness or pain. Buddhi is the active factor of the mind, connecting the individual with the world, the environment, and sense objects. It is buddhi which gives you the cognition and recognition of different things that exist around, so you are able to look at them, analyze them, reflect on them, rationalize them, and take an appropriate decision. Manas. The fourth function of Mahat is manas. It is also translated as mind, due to which there is often confusion about which mind one is talking about, the lower mind or the higher mind. Manas is not mind. Its function is Sanchalpa or Vaikalpa, clarity and confusion, focus and distraction. The total cosmos is Brahman, containing the possibilities of multiverses, and not just the known universe. From Brahman emerges Prakriti, the manifest nature, and from Prakriti comes Mahat. In the progression of Mahat, the subtlest function is Ahamkara, followed by Chitta and Buddhi, and the grossest of Manas. You live in the dimension of Manas much of the time, with some association with Buddhi, some association with Chitta, and some connection with Ahamkara. Your field of performance, action, and living is predominantly the dimension of Manas. Buddhi and Chitta are secondary, and Ahamkara is the underlying principle. In order to discover your progress in spiritual life, observe how many of your vasanas, or desires and expectations, have reduced. It is the reduction in vasanas that will indicate the balance in your mind and nature, and an increase in vasanas and desires will indicate an unbalanced state of your nature. Obsessive compulsive behavior will manifest in a desire which is self-oriented and self-motivated, intended for personal pleasure and gain. when that personal idea leaves the desire, that it does not have any force, like a flame that does not have any warmth. It emits light and luminosity, but it does not burn one. That is buddhi. Where does the mind exist? The mind is not just the conscious faculty with which you become aware of your environment, but a power which is responsible for your life and living, despite organic failures of the body. The brain can die, other systems can stop functioning, but you can still continue to live because the mind exists in you as energy. That is the role of consciousness. In the absence of prana, consciousness can still exist. In the absence of consciousness, prana can still exist. However, in order to create a homogeneous and integrated experience of life, both have to function together. Sanchalpa and Vaikalpa. Normally, the term manas refers to the lower mind, not the higher mind, not to Mahat. Manas is the mind which is clear or confused, whose two expressions are Sanchalpa and Vaikalpa. Sanchalpa is clarity of thought, intention, motivation, and aim. The mantras that we chanted during the Shanti path are Sankalpas because they have clarity and an aim. They give a clear direction and purpose for the mind to evolve. The other function of manas is Vaikalpa, confusion. It is a state of dumbness where one does not know what to do. Somebody has to constantly say, "Do it like this." However, it is the whims and fancies which make people either follow what they are told or not. The mind can become obedient or disobedient. It may appreciate or not appreciate something. The question is, where is the mind in this life? You can locate a place for each and every function and organ in the system, but where is the location of the mind? Scientists say the mind is located in the brain. Philosophers say the mind is located in the heart. However, the fact with which all schools of thought agree does not concern its location, but its quality and nature. Atomic and expansive mind. The quality and nature of the mind is anu and vibhu. Anu means atomic, contained and defined, and vibhu means connected, expanded, and broad. Anu mind. The mind in the anu form is contained within the body. It does not have any specific location in the body. If a mosquito bites your little toe, it is the body of matter which has been bitten by a mosquito. But the knowledge and pain of the mosquito bite is felt by the body as the mind. Therefore, you can even say that the mind is in the little toe of your body. Where is the light in this room? It pervades the entire room. The whole room is lit up. The bulbs placed at different locations light up the whole room homogeneously. In the same manner, in the anu aspect, the contained and atomic aspect, the mind is within the body and is part of every sense organ and sense experience. It is contained in vision. The moment you look at something, the mind becomes active. It is contained in hearing. The moment a noise comes to your ears, the mind becomes active. It is contained in taste. The moment you taste something, the mind becomes active. It is an inherent part of touch. The moment you touch something, the mind becomes active. Every sense organ, indriya, is connected with the mind. Each and every part of the body is connected with the mind. The mind is the subtle force or energy responsible for giving birth to an experience through the agency of the senses, recognizing them, realizing them, cultivating them, developing them, and transforming them. Vibhu mind. The second aspect of the mind is Vibhu, interconnected. The sages and rishis have maintained that the higher quality of mind is Vibhu. All minds are interconnected, although you are not aware of this. When you are able to transcend the restrictions and limitations of the Anu mind, then you connect with the Vibhu mind. The expression of the Vibhu mind is seen in the lives of yogis and realized beings. I will give 2 examples of the interconnected mind. Sai Baba was a great Siddha of India who lived a very simple and humble life. One day at his ashram, he was sitting before the Dunhi, a sacred fire, in the evening, having satsang. Suddenly, Sai Baba put his hand right into the fire and then pulled it out. The hand was burned. People could not understand why he did this. The reason was discovered after 1 week when a family from a distant village came for Sai Baba's darshan and related an incident at their home a week ago. They said a miracle had taken place in their house. The evening meal was being prepared and a charcoal fire was burning. A small boy playing nearby tripped and fell into the burning embers. Catching sight of this, the mother cried out to Sai Baba, "Save my son!" When she looked again, the son was standing safe and sound, and not a part of his body was burnt. That was when people realized why Sai Baba had put his hand into the fire on that particular day. He had saved the child. This is an expression of the Vibhu mind, the interconnected mind. This kind of expansive mind is acquired by yogis. Another example is an incident from the life of our own guru, Swami Satyananda. While he was performing the Panchagni sadhana, one day he came out of the Vedi, called the sannyasins and Swami Satsangi, and said, "In a nearby village, a house is burnt down. The man of the house has died in the flames. The woman has been widowed. She has lost everything and has 3 children. Locate that family and organize their shelter, food, and clothes." This was a time when for 9 years, Sri Swamiji had not been seeing anybody. He was totally isolated and immersed in his own sadhana. Nobody would come to give any information or news. How did he, while performing his sadhana, suddenly become aware of the tragedy, the pain and suffering that this lady was undergoing? Your mind and my mind are connected, but you are not aware of it. If I can become aware of that connection, then I can know what is happening in your mind. If you can become aware of your connection, then you will know what is happening in my mind. It is fine-tuning the mind, just as you fine-tune a radio to hear a station without any garbled sound. Such fine-tuning is achieved through sadhana.